Hello and welcome to Dram 1. Today I'm doing a comparison review between the Laphroaig 10, the standard release, and the Laphroaig 10 original Cask Strength. Laphroaig 10, the Cask Strength versus the original Cask Strength. Now this has been a review I've been wanting to do ever since I started this channel. Now, of course, you might think this is the third video, we're not that far along. True that, but like I said in the first video, I've been planning to start this channel for a long time and I've been blogging for quite a long time, and ever since the start of blogging, I've been wanting to review these because there's such a high contrast to them and they leave me so conflicted. Maybe that sounds weird, maybe it's different for you, but I'd love to hear it in the comments, by the way, to hear what you think. But at the moment, as it stands, this original 10 is 35 euros. And then we go to the Cask Strength, it's 110. So that's a huge difference, and the original though is only at 40%. And that to me is a big bummer because it's still an amazing whiskey. I still enjoy it greatly, but it's a bit too watered down. It's a bit too diluted. So naturally my eye went to the Cask Strength to get some of the more oomph into my dram. But then you find it and you notice that over the years the prices have gone up massively. Like, it was considered great value back in the day, the Cask Strength. It's what I kept reading everywhere. So I was like, I must get me some of that. But when you consider that you can buy 3 bottles of the original, 3, and still have some money to spare for 1 bottle of the Cask Strength, and basically the only difference you're getting is 50% more ABV. How that leads to 3 times the price, I don't know. Yes, I know it's batches. I understand that. And I think in the end it's just popularity. They ask what they can get away with. And it's an amazing spirit. But at 110, it's also a very expensive spirit. And I can only enjoy this at special occasions. It's not something I can put out the night with friends 4 times a year because I simply am not that rich. That's what it basically comes down to. But let's delve into the flavors. Little short backstory about the Laphroaig 10. I first started discovering peat through Talisker, and I fell in love with the category, so I wanted to explore more and more and more peat. And one of the next steps on that discovery tour, so to say, was the Laphroaig. And the Laphroaig it was so in my face. I used to have terrible eczema as a child, and it was like I got a tar ointment. There was a tar ointment that's with actual tar in it, and I used to have to cover my whole body in it. It smelled horrible, and if you got it on anything, there was a stain in there that you could never get out. So it was terrible stuff, and that's exactly what I smelled in my glass, what I'm still smelling today. Yet I've come to love it, because the funny thing about those things are, if you find something that you can't quite place, then you keep wanting to discover it. And well, in this case I could place it very well. It was that ointment, but like drinking that ointment was in a way, for my senses, was such a weird experience that that's what I wanted to keep exploring. And in the end it became one of my favorite whiskies. But as I started exploring, like I said before, more high ABV whiskies, Cask Strength whiskies, I went back to it and I found it a watery mess. Well, not a mess, it's still good, the flavors are there, but it's 40%. And people in the States, for example, are a bit more lucky. They get a nice 43%, which I don't know how much of a difference it makes, but I'm sure it makes some difference. And yeah, in the end, it is what it is, but I I wish there was some sort of middle ground, which there is, by the way. You can always look for the quarter cask, which is an amazing dram, but we're not reviewing that today. Today we're setting these side by side, so let's get in for a little taste of the original 10 first. Like I said, that tar ointment is still there, but there's also the band-aids, the iodine, the medicinal notes that that Laphroaig has become so known for. There's a coastal influence in it as well. I'm picking up on some seaweed, and it's just all around pleasant. I'm also picking up on some vanilla. There's some sweetness in there, but the main note that sticks out is tar. And this is where the water, the water shines through, which is a shame. It's diluted, it's thin. It's like I just poured too much in the glass. Like, I like this in a highball. Why? Because my girlfriend likes cocktails, and sometimes we go to a bar and there is not a really amped selection of whiskeys or something. So last Christmas actually, so this is a newfound love. We were at a restaurant and they did have Laphroaig 10. That was the only decent whiskey, and but I was like, yeah, I can order myself a glass of that, but I know it, I have a bottle at home. And then I was like, well, let's throw it in a highball. And I was in love. And it was, it takes away the flaws of this product, because that's supposed to be diluted. You don't pick up on the watery sense in the dram anymore, but you do still get that peat, that iodine, that band-aids, the vanilla. It all comes through, because you're not really adding flavors to it, just diluting it a bit further, and then suddenly it makes sense. When it comes to this though, it feels very thin, and I like the flavors. I still enjoy sipping on it. The finish is nice as well. As we're talking, I'm picking up on some licorice. It's lingering for quite a while. Those flavors are quite pronounced, but still thin, and that's exactly what I find missing in this dram. And I can't wait to go to the Cask Strength, which I am going over it quite shortly now, because it's supposed to be fun and not too long, but this really, it feels diluted, and that's the sense that keeps coming up. And yeah, it keeps giving me the feeling like it could have been more, and that's sad, because you want to be satisfied with your dram, and I can't really be satisfied with this. So let's move on to the Cask Strength and see what that does. Yeah, that higher ABV, that Cask Strength transforms this dram so much, and not even in all the ways I would have loved to see it, because that tar note, it's almost gone. The band-aids, the iodine, missing. Instead, it's seaweed, it's honey, it's a little bit of a bacon drizzle, it's savory, it's sweet, it's beautiful flavors, burnt oak. It's amazing, rounded, and yet the really, really harsh flavors are covered up a bit by niceness, in a way. But let's find out what it does on the palate. Immediately, so much more oomph. I like the word oomph, because it gives off the sense of taking a sip of something, and just not even by high ABV, it's just by flavors, getting hit in the face by flavors that you're just like, poof. There is so much going on here, and that's the case here. Like, and it's a wide array as well. It's not it's not singular, like here's Pete, deal with it. No, there is from anything from honey loops to indeed, like I'm picking up on well, one of my favorite comfort foods, and that's bacon pancakes drizzled with thick molasses. Dutch Dutch delicacy, spekpannenkoeken, etc. That was a little bit of Dutch, just in case you're wondering. And it's all so thickly there, so dense. It's the mouthfeel is almost as if you could chew it, and it's wonderful. It's thick and it's rich, and at the same time also I will admit that the harsher flavors are covered up nicely, and that can be something you're looking for, and sometimes I miss it a little bit because I've grown to love the tar, the iodine, and etc. And that was oddly enough more available in the standard 10. The finish here, it lasts long, just like it lasted long on the standard 10, but here it's rounded out, it's full bodied, and that's exactly when I was thinking of there's something missing in the finish from the standard 10. It was hard to put my finger on it because the flavors were there, they were pleasant, the finish was long, but it was thin. It was just a bit thin, and this isn't. This is anything but thin. It's creamy, it's thick, it's luxurious, it's rich, and it's wonderful to just sit back with, spend the night with, and just enjoy. And I think with either of these drams you can enjoy them, but in the end my conclusion, the sad truth is that this whiskey has become a mixer for me, because it lacks a bit of oomph, and like I said, I'd rather get a quarter cask if I want to experience a nice Laphroaig. And this one has become too much of a special occasion whiskey. I've heard people say like, yeah, a few years back we could get it for 60 euros, and I was like, well, I'd stock up on it because it's very good, but at 110, at more than 3 times the amount of the standard 10, it's just insane to me. And for me, anything above 100 is like a special occasion, like pull open at your wedding or whatever, because I am not that rich, and I get to try some amazing whiskey sometimes, but when it comes to buying a bottle for myself, I have a very limited budget, and yeah, I can't, like, I would love to, like, every year buy the next batch, like after the 14 by the 15, etc. But my wallet won't allow it. Anyway, if you're running into similar problems, or if you would just like to share your opinion on one of these whiskies with me, I would love to hear it down in the comments, and I would love it if you give a like or subscribe if you enjoyed watching this video. Either way, it's been a pleasure again. I'll get the good one to say Slàinte mhath to all of you, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.